have the rare pleasure of introducing a man. Wow. Mark Valley, an actor who's working on his memoir. He's going to be reading an excerpt from his adventurous trip that he took, where he realized what it meant to be a man, when you lose it, how you remember it, and how you get it back. I can't wait to hear it.
Thank you very much. Sit. Down. Hut. Hut. And I take the snap from my friend Scott Blue. He crashes in the line to block. I step back to look above the lineman into the pocket. Take one step forward with my left hand and throw the ball downfield as hard as I can over the practice field of high school football. I watch the ball go up in the air, starting with such promise, an orange missile off the green practice field into the blue sky. The struggle at the line stops as all look to see the outcome. My father, the head coach, an off-field bruiser, his chin in the air too, watching, jaw clenched. I hear my own breathing in my helmet, my personal amphitheater, where a crowd roars as I imagine the ball coming down precisely on target, all eyes on me. Amazement from Andy White, the star running back, or Big Pete Amo. My father smiling, swelling with pride, coming to me to grab my arm and pull me to him, to look me into his green eyes while he says, "You are my son and a hell of a quarterback." But I step to the right to see better. My cleats sticky in the clunky dirt, and then it happens. The ball hits the top of the trajectory, and the once tight spiral on the way begins to wobble, wounded, and like a mallard from buckshot at cruising speed. It flaps. Useless, takes a couple of erratic bounces and comes to a stop alone on the clotted ground. I look toward my father. His chin drops, and as if to say before my embarrassment can spread, he yells out, "Okay, first team, get in there, same play." In comes Reggie McDonald, the tall, gifted athlete that a town can hang its hopes on, and the starting offense. He drops back, launches a throw that can take down a small plane, and it's caught. Touchdown. Everyone is all cheers, up in arms. Even my father is smiling. The team is going back to the locker room on a high note, he'd say. On a high note, like we're the Bee Gees or something. I undo my chin strap and walk across the field back to the locker room when someone jogs up beside me. "Hey, how was the snap?" "Huh?" I was still surrounded in that fog, that dense, dull, and reverberating shockwave I get from my father's disappointment. The snap, and I realize it's Scott Blue, the second team center. "I've been working on putting it in the same place every time," he says. "Yeah, it was great," I say. "It was really good, actually." Scott's a little eager to please. And I'm picturing Scott practicing in his driveway, bent over, taking the ball from the ground to his groin, over and over. His father, humorless, hulking, tall and wide, watching him from the back door, periodically scanning the neighborhood for any potential disrespect. "Hey, can I get a ride to the party tonight?" he asked. "What party?" "Well, I heard Pete and them asking about a party on the river at Bubba New's camp or something." "Your father's letting you go out?" "Yeah, it's senior year, so..." And Scott just let it land there like I'm supposed to understand his father, too. "Yeah, sure, I guess." "Cool, thanks." And Scott bounds off ahead of me, eager for the future, running on his toes, just happy to be on the team. At the party, I stood alone, hands in my pockets. I wasn't drinking during football season. I was out of practice at parties myself. Ever since getting caught drinking at 13, my parents hardly let me leave the house. Over the crackle of the bonfire on the shore, among the whispers of the girls nestled around it, I hear laughing at the end of the dock. Then I make up Pete Amo, tall, strong, dash of charm and a police record. Andy White, a year younger than us, a running back whose quads strained his jeans, arms like legs themselves. Rumor had it that Whitey's father was from the reservation at St. Regis Falls, which to us then could help explain his extraordinary strength, speed, and anger. I hear Scott's laugh, too, louder than the rest, a little delayed, forced like Scott does, then the silence from the dock, and I sense something is up. I could smell the burning driftwood, the rotting seaweed washed up at the end of the summer, and out of the darkness beyond the warm fire, the jackals were circling. I heard Scott, "Hey, what do you guys do?" and a scuffle of feet on the small, warm wooden dock, and then a splash. I probably should have told Scott not to go out on the end of the dock. I'd learned how not to be a human target from my father when I was 9. I just come in the house after a game of wiffle ball in the backyard with some friends. "I heard you out there," my father said as I washed my hands for dinner. "Yeah, it was a great game," I said, still winded with flush with young vigor. "Really great game. I got a hit almost every time." "No, I mean you were the only one," I heard out there. And he walked away. I walked across the sand. brush along the shore to the base of the crooked dock, and up on shore walked Scott, dripping, heavy, unsure of his footing on the weedy bottom. Scott could stand up for himself, I thought. A year earlier, he came over to shoot hoops in my driveway. Hey, Mark, I don't want you to call me Babs anymore. He was a close talker with that one eye that departed from the other slightly. He seemed to be on my forehead, trying to anticipate my next thought, move, and word. I could tell this was important to him or to someone. Sure, Scott. The confrontation was over. I felt envious of him that day, how he could stand up to me, to anyone. I'd let it slip once in a while, but I called him Scott from then on. But I didn't envy him now. Actually, as he stood there on the shore, glancing to the bonfire and the girls still chatting away, oblivious. Behind him, Abel and Whitey licking their paws in the darkness, I felt relieved it wasn't me. There was someone else below me on the awkward list tonight. So when Scott said, hey, Mark, can you give me a ride? I hesitated just a little, like it was a big deal with me having such a great time at the party. But yeah, sure, Scott. I mean, if you aren't ready to go, I can wait. And I glanced over to the bonfire and inhaled like I was making a big sacrifice. No, let's go. I shifted into fourth gear in my father's light blue VW Bug on the highway. Babs is looking for the seatbelt. Still soaking wet, he kind of sloshes in the plastic seat when he moves. It's behind there somewhere, I say, not bothered to putting mine on like my father. We drive in silence for a little while, the whining of the VW motor, occasional oncoming headlights flashing on Scott, looking intensely over the dash. Those guys are assholes, I say. Scott looks down at the floor. I guess they were just having fun, he mutters. We get to his house. I stop the car across the street. His father's Buick sits in the driveway. Some lights are on downstairs. Scott doesn't get out of the car. Mark, hey, can I dry my clothes at your house? Yeah, I guess. Why? I don't want my father to see me like this, you know? I can hear my own breathing, my hands on the plastic wheel of my father's car. Street lights on sidewalks, the streets of our neighborhood empty, everyone back in their warm boxes for the night except for me and Scott. And there we sat in our laundry/bathroom, me on the toilet seat, him on the rim of the bathtub. He was wearing some of my clothes, corduroys and a sweatshirt. I was proud of my little makeover. I thought I'd tell him about how I still wet the bed sometimes and sneak the sheets down into the washing machine before my father got up. But I didn't. We kept our voices down low so as not to wake my father either. Scott and I are both the oldest with younger sisters. You ever been burned by a curling iron? Yes. I hate that. As the drawing cycle started to wrap up, so did the reality of the evening. Scott smiled as he tucked his tight shirt into his worn, tight jeans. Always looked like he was getting an extra year out of whatever he was wearing. I opened the back door and Scott, happy like a baby in fresh diapers, looked at me, cross-eyed and all. He stood like a man, held out his hand. I shook it, and he said, thanks, Mark. I nodded. He skipped down the few steps to the driveway, looked back once, smiling, and disappeared around the corner on his way home. The VW Bug in the driveway sat parked in the basketball hoop at our garage, silent. I shut the door, went up the stairs to my room, and laid on my bed, still in my dry clothes, wishing I had a friend like me. Scott and I didn't stay in touch after graduation. He went to college across the river. I was home with my parents when it happened. My sister Lynn heard it first from Scott's sister Robin, that he was killed in a car accident, head-on collision with a truck in Canada. I wore a suit for the first time since the prom, walked to his funeral only a few blocks from where we lived. Confused with freshly cut grass could smell the same way. In the morning sky, blue with crisp white clouds, houses mute and colorful as I passed. And there at the end of the aisle was a closed gray casket, shiny and new. Scott was in there, Babs too. I hugged his mother before the funeral started. She wouldn't let go of me for the longest time. I could feel her fingernails digging in, like she wanted to keep me.